Hi everybody, welcome back to more CSGO News. Today we break down the investigation of NIP, which has now concluded in a bit of a weird way. So as you guys can probably tell by the title, this might be just part 1 of 2. I do want to go over this investigation in full in another episode of what they did conclude about a lot of the victims out there, or the accusations made by many of the people we do know. Fiflaurin, Michaelele, Freiberg exist. There are about 10 accusations or so broken down in this investigation. I'll touch on those in a part 2. I do want to focus on right now, though, the main parts of the investigation, which were very suspicious, very skeptical, or what seemed very wrong about it in general. So I don't want to give it too much hate so far. I do want to say, with the investigation concluded, there were some good points made in here, but certainly a lot was missing. It seemed a bit rushed, and I'll break down exactly why. So I hope you guys all do enjoy. If you do want a part 2 where we break down those things, feel free to leave a comment or a like down below. But let's hop into it right away. It was actually concluded by Ian Smith, guys, currently a board member over at WISA, the World Esports Association. Red flag number 1, who is also on that same board, Hashim Shaheen, the guy he is investigating. They apparently appointed Ian Smith to investigate him. They're on the same board there over at WISA. If you see that as a conflict of interest, I think you're not alone in that as well. So numero uno, red flag, a little bito over there. But it does continue throughout the entire investigation as we enter just the second paragraph of his introduction. As Ian does state, this has been a complex case involving very high volumes of material, and I've been as exhaustive as possible whilst bearing in mind the need for as quick a public outcome as possible. Ideally, more time would be needed to be absolutely definitive. Ideally, more time would be needed to be absolutely definitive. So right off the bat, he's not absolutely definitive. Okay, he's come out and admitted that. Let's continue. I have been given full and unfettered access to NIP's documentation at their office, where I spent 3 full days in preparation of this report, in addition to 3 further days of drafting, desktop research, and interviews. So I'm very confused by this statement. Were you given 3 days to do what we consider to be 20,000 emails? Or were we given 6 days? Either way, in total, if maximum he was given 6 days to read through what could be, what he says is around 20,000 emails. That is insane. And what could be as little as 3 days, 20,000 emails. He goes on to state he chose the ones he saw were actually part of an important thread. 3 days, possibly 6 days total he spent on this case. A bit rushed? Yeah, semi-red flag number 2 or 3. And this consisted of close on 20,000 emails. Obviously, I could not read them all, but I have looked at many of them and followed what I consider to be important threads. I have not read all of them. 20,000 emails. He did not read all of them. I guess we could have guessed that. 6 days max. 20,000 emails. He did not read them all. He gave us a very rushed response. He knows Hashim Shaheen, of course, on the same board as well, and it goes on. Bear in mind that a significant proportion of the documentation was in Swedish, which I do not speak or read, and so, in some respects, things may have got lost in translation, and I was perhaps overly reliant on Google Translate. But with respect to key legal documentation, I took separate first language and jurisdiction advice. Holy crap. We couldn't have appointed someone else out. This is like me doing the investigation. You guys know how dumb I can be sometimes. This guy knew Hashim Shaheen, did not even read all the emails, all 20,000 of them. He was given 3 to 6 days to complete the investigation, gave us a very rushed response, and very lastly, he doesn't even speak the primary language of all the files he's looking over. There was no one else out there that we could have appointed to say, hey, does anyone here speak Swedish to maybe look over this important case, investigation? And he's not even definitive. He's not even definitive of his actual, he's confident. He's not definitive, though, of what he did reach in the investigation. Those are 5 or 6 points that do worry me. I think he covers some great points. He obviously goes into better detail than we have seen from a lot of things out there, but there are certainly a lot of points out there that don't add up, don't make sense, and don't make him very qualified to be doing this. And even further, guys, one of the biggest points to be made about this between Nicholas Fischer and Emil Heaton was who took money from the old NIP. In this documentation, linked down below for all of you guys, I wanted to make one last point before we clear things up here. When they refer to old co, that's old NIP 2014 and backwards, and new co, new NIP 2014 and forwards for those two organizations, which are separate. Along with this, though, he very clearly states when it comes to old co 2014 and back, they had no financial information about old co. No financial records, no nothing. And that was a huge debate when it came between Heaton and Nicholas Fischer, as they both accused each other of depriving the players of those funds, right? That account that apparently, according to Heaton, Nicholas Fischer went off and he ran off to Thailand and took the money with him. And of course, Nicholas Fischer has now said, no, Emil, you were the one who spent all the money. And we have no financial records in this investigation about one of the most important points about who actually took the money out of that account, or who made the most transactions, or who actually took the players' money and made it disappear. So why are we... I'll make one last point though, because I want to give him credit where credit is due. He reached out to a lot of people. Not everyone reached back out to him. That's not his fault. He made some assumptions here and there, which I'm not going to discredit him for. I think one main point as well needs to be touched on when he actually reviewed the financial information of NIP, whether it's new NIP 2016 forward or about 2014 forward. He did make some remarks about, well, there being some unusual activity. So it did seem very significant in the stuff that he did report here, guys. Apparently, the foreign management section is a super interesting one because it states that between, it was actually 2014 until 2016, there were external advisors who were paid large sums of money for accounting services, and those accounting services, they can't be accounted for. They cannot be proven that those accounting services that were paid large sums for, they can't be proven that those accounting services were actually done. Red flag. And on top of that, there was also significant evidence of unusual and unsound business practices throughout that same time. And also, apparently, significant money was actually taken by former management from the new NIP. They do not classify, though, which old management took money from new NIP. This is when apparently Hashim Shaheen steps in. He reorganizes the entire company, brings his own money in, and all of a sudden we got brand new owners. On top of that, very lastly, guys, it does acknowledge that former staff as well as former players were never paid their uncredited funds, right? The money they were owed, they weren't paid that. So this does confirm a lot of big things out there, a lot of sketchy things. I don't understand how it says this, and then the conclusion it says that NIP has made better progress, you know, they're doing things better nowadays, where meanwhile we still have stories from Freiburg, Exist, Drake, and who else that's been a part of new NIP, so clearly they're not making steps in the right direction, or maybe they're not being near as bad as they once were. This video will continue to a part 2, okay? I think they made some great points. Ian Smith made some great points. Also, though, probably not the most qualified in this investigation. This investigation is certainly not entirely full. It was rushed a little bit, and there's a little bit of conflicts here and there that I've hopefully pointed out for all of you guys. Either way, it's not convinced me of one thing, really. In fact, it's probably reassured me that something definitely went down, and some big things went down ever since then, at least at the point of me recording this episode. Fifth Lauren has not said a word. I expect him to probably be preparing some big statements out there, so keep an eye out, guys. The NIP situation does continue. It gets sketchier and sketchier with the day. Their name is not cleared in my book. I don't know if it's cleared in your guys' book, and we'll see what happens in the future. As always, my name is Jake. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of the major. Enjoy your weekends, guys. I'll see you back here sometime soon. Until then, take care, drink coffee. Bye-bye.